I never thought I'd hear you say my name. That's crazy.
I gotta be honest with you, that means a lot to me.
Believe it or not, comedy or wrestling.
He taught me everything about timing, getting the crowd in your hands.
I was a Cody crybaby, I'm not gonna lie. No, that's cheating. No, I didn't buy my own seats.
So I went to his wife, who has like 8,000 credit cards. Just ask him. I used one of her credit cards to buy 10 of my own action figure.
I love the guy to death. I've been to his house. I've destroyed his plumbing. Martin! I hope you subscribe.
It is that time of the week again, and this week is a very special one. Welcome into your favorite story time pro wrestling WWE show called Behind the Turnbuckle. I am the coach. He is Big Tommy C. And Tommy, today we have the one and only Gabriel Iglesias, the incredibly popular comedian and huge wrestling fan right here. Are you excited?
Coach, since you announced it a couple of weeks ago, I've been waiting for this day to come. I can't wait to meet this guy and talk to him. I've seen plenty of his shows. He's funny, and I'm all ready for Gabe.
He's going to be here in just a little bit, but I thought, so if you're new to this show, sometimes we talk about having on Raw and SmackDown and tie it back into not today. Today is strictly about celebrities and wrestling. And Tommy, I remember when I started in 1999, you started several years before that, there was a time when you had to convince Vince McMahon that WrestleMania needed celebrities, that you needed them to come in to really push. And early on, what would you say was the biggest celebrity? Because I'm thinking Cyndi Lauper. I'm thinking Mr. T, who actually was in a match with Hulk Hogan. But they were the driving force behind WrestleMania back in the day, even though most wouldn't admit it. Who do you remember that you thought, oh, that's a pretty cool celebrity on WWE?
Well, for Muhammad Ali, right?
Oh, damn, I forgot. Yes.
Muhammad Ali, come on, the greatest of all time, really? And I was a big, obviously, Lawrence Taylor for me, because I was a big Lawrence Taylor fan. In football, he reinvented the defense and getting the quarterback. But Burt Reynolds, right? He was there. So major star. So there's been Mike Tyson, of course. But for me, it'd be Muhammad Ali, the very first WrestleMania, which kicked everything off. And Liberace, are you kidding me? I mean, the guy, was the king of Vegas, really, besides Wayne Newton. But that's an unbelievable, a collective count of stars that WWE brought to the table.
Hopefully someday we get Hulk Hogan here on the show, because I'm not going to tell the story now, but he once told me, and I don't know if it's true or if it's not true, but he basically told a story about WrestleMania 1, where Vince and Linda, they had it all riding. It was all on the line. And if it wasn't a success, the company was going to go under. And just hours before, because he was tagging with Mr. T against Rowdy Roddy Piper, if I remember, and Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff. Right. And basically, they kind of held it up and said, we want more cake. We want more money. And if we've been around Hulk quite a bit, I could see that happening. But again, it was kind of in one of those conversations that you don't know if it was really, really true. But then as we fast forward, Tommy, and WrestleMania became very chic and very in, we would routinely be walking around backstage, weren't we? And all of a sudden we'd be like, you would just see just all these different celebrities backstage all the time. And it was weird because they were looking at all of us like we were the big stars, weren't they?
Yep, absolutely. It would be incredible. Backstage, hey, there's Kid Rock, and he's there marking out, watching Rock walk by, or Steve Austin or something like that. It was incredible how they became huge fans just backstage, and they're huge stars themselves.
Tommy, I'll never forget, you mentioned Kid Rock. We were in Vancouver. They flew him in to play the Undertaker's theme for that 6 months, and his locker room was right across from my pre-tapes room. And I got apparently they have when they smoke down to the minute. So say they're going on at 7:30, they start smoking at 6:50. Like, it's an art form for them.
Right.
I was so high off the next room, because I've never been a marijuana smoker. I was so high. I was like, you know what they say? That's the good shit right there. He had the good shit right there. And then I'll never forget LL Cool J, one of the coolest dudes ever. promoting the movie Rollerball that Paul Heyman was
That's
a part of.
right.
That's why they were there. And I'll never forget, Tommy, he was sitting in the pre-tapes room. We brought The Rock in to do a promo for, he had just won an MTV European Music or Movie Award. And it had to be 90 seconds on the dot because they would roll it into the broadcast over there. So nobody ever knew that the reason he did one take is because he could make If You Smell What the Rock Is Cooking last 5 seconds or 15 seconds. So he comes in, knocks it out. Thank you, Europe, for making Scorpion King, whatever. If you smell what the Rock is cooking. Walks out, and LL's sitting there eating his nachos, his hot dog, his popcorn. He ate one bite of everything. I kid you not. That's how LA, because he was always in good shape. So he had a sweet tooth. He'd eat one bite of everything. It was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. Wow. He said, Coach, that would have taken me a day in Hollywood to shoot that right there. He goes, how does Rock not even check the tape? I said, because he does it every single day of his life. Right. So it was amazing for somebody so talented to be amazed at what The Rock would do. Right?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Tommy, I think it's about time.
Yes.
I think it's about time because he has arrived. The man is busy on tour right now. And if he's coming to your city, I encourage you to go watch this man perform. It is with great honor and it is with a great privilege we welcome in right now for the very first time, Fluffy himself, Gabriel Iglesias. Enjoy. I got to say, it is with incredible respect and honor that we welcome this week's guest, the one and only, the incredible comedian, Gabriel Iglesias, to Behind the Turnbuckle. Mr. Iglesias, Gabriel, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I never thought I'd hear you say my name. That's crazy.
I got to be honest with you.
The honor is mine.
Oh, well, that means a lot to me because I've always said this, that when you're doing it, we're in the middle of it, you never realize who's a fan or who's watching. I've never done that. And sometimes you get this mutual respect that is awesome. But I got to tell you, celebrities have always been a big part of the WWE universe. How did a kid from San Diego become such a big wrestling and WWE fan?
Man, I've been a fan since 1987. It was a different time. The hair was on my head, not on my face, and nothing hurt yet. I was a kid, and I remember the build up to WrestleMania 3. That's when I came into the picture. Was WrestleMania 3, and I just remember my mom's friend used to subscribe to the to WWF at the time magazine, and I remember just seeing these magazines, and I'm like, wow. And of course, I'd watch Primetime Wrestling and I'd watch Wrestling Superstars on Saturdays and stuff like that, and that was just my thing. I was drawn to it at that age, and you got to figure I was probably 10, 11 at the time.
Why do you think celebrities from all walks of life like pro wrestling?
I think that a lot of it has to do with the fact that you're living it's a like this almost like superstar life of like, it's very like, wow, that's incredible that's happening. It's its own confined world where it's the good versus evil, and you just like, oh man, I don't know, man. Honestly, I couldn't tell you more than that. It's just, as a kid, I've been drawn to it, and when I think about the idea of getting into the ring, it sounds awesome till I realize I can't pass a physical. It's just, I don't know, man. It's like every time you go see a movie, a really good movie where there's this, the good versus evil, it's that feeling of being part of that. And for me, it was just always exciting. I love the personalities. I love the action. I love like, ooh. And you're like, oh my God, like, how could somebody be blinded for life twice? You know what I mean? Like, everything was just so surreal.
It's so funny, Gabriel, that you say that, because when I went from being an announcer to being a character and having to get into the ring, they said, well, you got to learn how to get your ass kicked, right? And I was like, well, that should be easy until you take that first shot and you realize, oh, damn. And then you have a whole newfound respect for what the guys do. Now, we'll go back in a second, but part of the reason we started this show was because of the resurgence and what kind of The Rock and Roman, all these guys brought back to the table and falling back in love with pro wrestling. you were all over WrestleMania. You posted 1,000 pictures with every superstar. Looked like it was a ball. How does that relationship work? How did you get invited?
Well, I've been going to WrestleMania now for probably the last 12, 13 years. There was maybe 1 or 2 years in there, like the COVID year, and then there was one more year that I couldn't make. But for the most part, I've been going every year, and so it's one of those things you just keep showing up until people realize, oh, damn, he takes it. This guy's serious. I feel like there's a lot of guys in positions where they were just showing up because of their fandom, because of how excited they were about it, and people notice. And I think that if you keep showing up, eventually, people either invite you to the game or you start getting paid. So one of the two things happen, and I'm not getting paid yet, but yeah, I get invited. I get invited to a lot of things, which is really, really cool because they know that I'm a genuine fan. I always get annoyed whenever I see celebrities on any of the shows, and I'm like, clearly they don't know what they're talking about. Clearly they're not a fan. They're just there to push and promote their product, their thing, whatever it is because they're trying to capitalize on the viewers of professional wrestling. So it's like, you don't really care. And for me, I've always just enjoyed being there. I enjoyed being a fly on the wall, and I enjoyed whenever I was invited to participate and be involved in something that was like, okay, here we go. So for this year was really, really cool because actually I started doing a show for WWE called Rivals. I was asked to be the new host. And so since I was now in doing something actually officially with WWE, it was a no-brainer that, hey, this guy should be there at WrestleMania. Plus, I'm really good with social media, and they like the fact that I love doing interviews. I love doing playing. So if they want me to go out there and play video games with superstars, or they want me to show up somewhere and just kiss hands, shake babies, I'm down to do that too. And of course, I was there, at ringside, and I was up in the suites. I was all over the place at Mania. Wow. So for me, it was exciting.
You probably don't remember this, but you and I first met. It wasn't when I was in the WWE, but in 2017, 2018, I brought SportsCenter when I was at ESPN to WrestleMania, and you were backstage. I said hello real quick because I'm a big fan of all of your stuff. That's when we first met. But I realized, even though I'd been gone for several years, that truly when they say WWE is a family, there's a lot of positives to that. How do they treat you when you show up backstage from time to time?
I think everybody's different. I think that like anytime I've had encounters, for example, with like Triple H or Stephanie, they've always been welcoming. They've always been super cool. I've done stuff in the past where they so we've met before, so that was nice. Yeah. Most of the superstars now, I feel like, wow, it's extremely like, really, like, you're talking to me. I get excited. I'm like, oh shoot, I was in a break room, and everybody's at craft services, everybody's eating, and I saw Seth Rollins, and Seth stopped eating, stood up, and said, "Hey man, hi. Just want to say thanks for being such a big fan of the product. Wow. I see you're always showing up, and you're always, making these appearances. You could tell you're a legit fan." I'm like, "Oh my God, you stopped eating to talk to me?" I'm like, I'm a big fan of yours, but I wouldn't have stopped eating to talk to you. Oh no, it's fine. So stuff like that, I think it's awesome. And then of course, when you're backstage, it's always this moving thing. It's like this train. People are always passing each other in the back like this, and so you keep seeing people. And I think it's really cool that everybody's just been very welcoming and just really nice. And it just keeps getting better and better over the years. I try never to be in the way. I never want to be that person that's overstaying or overstepping or trying to be like, hey, I'm here. I don't like that, because I don't like it when people do that at my shows or at other events. It's kind of like you're imposing and forcing yourself. But if it's kind of like I'm over here and you notice each other, I think that's really cool. But it's just, this year in particular, I was anywhere and everywhere, and I was like, I cannot believe this is happening. And then of course, now that The Rock is back, and everybody's like, oh shoot, is it just usually it's like a little flick. He just comes in and little flick. Yeah. But the fact that he was as involved as he was, man, it was so exciting, and it did rekindle those feelings of like, of when it was a more exciting time. And not to say that I wasn't involved in the other years, but there's times where there was the peaks and valleys. There's times where you're like, oh my God, I can't believe this. And then there's like, okay, well, I guess this match is cool. Well, we'll deal. we'll get by. Yeah, sure.
You have such a unique perspective on hot crowds. Being at WrestleMania this year, what was more hotter, the crowd? Was it Saturday or Sunday when the story finally ended?
Ooh, uh, man, you know what? Both nights were really, really good. I love the fact that we had that match with Drew McIntyre and Seth. That one really got me going because that was a hell of a way to kick it off. And I just remember everybody in the area where I was at was like, "Are you kidding me? Are you like?" And then when Drew won, I was like, "Wow!" And then it just got flipped again. I'm like, "Are you?" It was so like you didn't think it was going to get better, and then it just kept getting better and better. And I'm like, "This is the way it's starting." So the first night was pretty awesome, but then again, the way that everything ended was just as epic. And that I hate using that word, but for something like that, it was very very epic. The energy and the vibe, and watching this story finally happen and it finally getting that moment. If I had to pick one, I guess I'd have to pick the second night with Cody.
Were you in the Cody crybaby camp?
All right, look. You call it whatever you want to call it. Just speaking as somebody who's been overlooked in the past, himself in his own profession and his own his own personal
I get it.
endeavors, feeling like are you kidding me? Really? Someone else's? Okay, all right. I know that feeling, and I think most people can relate to that whole being passed up by somebody else. And not to say that The Rock isn't deserving because of, hey, man, the guy's been around forever. He's definitely Mount Rushmore, Hall of Fame all day, every day. But here's this guy who's been, the fact that there is a story, the fact that, all the different things, whether it was Stardust or whether it was all the other bullcrap you had to go through in order to get to this point, you feel that. And so, yeah, I was a Cody crybaby. I'm not gonna lie. I did post a thing. I remember I was on social media and I posted something, and I thought the coolest thing was Cody actually he replied and he goes, "Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that." And so, yeah, I was part of that team.
I tell you what, we have at our merch store, we have a "I am not a crybaby" t-shirt on sale. Because you're doing the show, I'm going to send you one so you can have one. It says "I am not a crybaby." We've sold a bunch of them, so you're gonna get one. You're gonna get one as a thank you. Now, you've already mentioned how much you love social media and how you use it to your advantage, because I don't think a lot of people out there realize that you can use social media. It can save you a ton of money on advertising dollars, pushing whatever it is you're pushing. How much did you think those 10-minute promos that Rock did? And I understand because I learned from him. I was right next to him for 3 years, and he taught me everything about timing, getting the crowd in your hands. But those social media posts and how long they were, how much do you think they helped the build up to that particular storyline and the culmination of it?
Oh, they did everything. I mean, every time he would go out, you're selling it. It's a long, exciting promo. It's a long, exciting commercial. It's a long, exciting, ad for what's to come. And the fact that he would do those promos as long as he did, and then WWE would take those clips and then dice them up and then put them on YouTube, put them on Instagram, put them on Twitter, put them all over the place. It just continued to fuel mania. So yeah, no, it was awesome to have them doing that. And because see, back then he didn't have social media to help the way that we have it now, which again, social media is a double-edged sword. It could help and hurt you in the same day. You know what I'm saying? Whereas back then, the stuff you'd get away with, but then again, how many people could see what you were doing? Whereas now it's like the whole world magnifying glass. So if you're going to do something really awesome, everybody's going to see it. And if you flub, they're going to see it too. But those promos definitely made Mania. I would tune in just to watch that. And for me, it was just like, man, I got to see what he's going to say. What's going to happen this week? And I was excited that I was in San Diego. I was in San Diego for Monday Night Raw. It was the first Raw of the year. And he came out, and man, that building was shaking. It was shaking. And that was before we found out the whole thing where, the Cody back and forth. It was just when he announced that thing about being at the table. And when it ended like that, everybody's just looking at each other and they're like, oh, this year is going to be, you just knew that him coming out set the tone for the year.
Gary, I'm going to jump in real quick, Tommy, because you bring up a great memory for me. And I don't know if you remember this particular night, but back in, I think it was 06 or 07, The Rock Gabriel had already left. He was already doing movies. And we were coming to San Diego, your hometown. And I was doing this thing where I was trying to get him out of the business. Like he was trying to make friends with all the big stars. But Eugene had never met The Rock. So imagine this. We sneaked The Rock in. He called and said, hey, I want to do something with Coach and with Eugene. Would they do that with me? Well, what would you do, Gabriel, if The Rock called and said, hey, would you do a skit with me in front of 15,000 people? Well, of course
I think you got to do it.
Right? We snuck him in. And I'm telling you right now that it's the only time in my entire career when I've been in the ring that I fell out of character. I'm literally getting goosebumps right now telling you this story. When he used to teach us how the surprise, the crowd in the palm of your hand, how important that is, that night will always be the greatest night of my WWE career. And you got to experience the same crowd this year. When you see a crowd like that and you see what one performer can do with the career that you've had, what's the first thing that kind of goes through your head?
It's magical. It really is. It's that feeling of like, this is something so special, so rare. There's people that can hit those 8.5s, maybe a 9 on a good weekend, but to have somebody come on and hit an 11 out the gate, that's, yeah, you know you're watching something that's like, I can't believe I'm here for this, and you acknowledge it. You know immediately how big it is. The fact that in San Diego, we came in through the back. We didn't come in the front door. They let us in through the back. I went in through the back and I walked through those hallways and I saw everybody. And I'm always listening, hopefully to catch something. I always want to just like, maybe I'll catch something. They kept that on such tight, it was so tight. I feel like they waited until the last minute to just bring the car in. All right, get out, go. So nobody back there was talking about it. Nobody knew, at least from what I could see. So the surprise was just that. It was a surprise. I just remember, like, your heart. You're like, oh! It's like that. It's like the Will Ferrell movie. It's Santa!
When you talk about the crowd, and you already said the WrestleMania crowd was amazing. When I remember the very first time I was on with The Rock, and he was like, Coach, there is a special way that you get the crowd in the palm of your hands. When I watch some of your live performances, there are people that will recite some of your jokes back to you. They're such big fans, they come right back to you. How does that feel, and how important to you is it to have the crowd just right there?
Well, anytime that people remember what you're saying, it's it lets you know that what you're saying is resonating with people. Being relatable, having that connection with people is very important. I've taken a lot of what wrestling has given me, and I've applied a lot of it to my shows with taking the time to pause. A lot of people don't realize that pausing and just letting the audience fill in that space is so huge, but people are afraid to pause. They're afraid to take that moment to allow the audience to add to that moment, and I've learned that from watching. In addition, I think that repetition is important. A lot of times, people have catchphrases, sayings, things that the crowd will do, and it's only because they've been conditioned from watching time after time. This is what he does. This is what he does. Staying consistent with a certain look, a certain cadence, words that you say. You're basically training the audience to understand. All right, this is your cue. Like, this is my setup to you, and this is your cue. And I feel like that's what's happened with some of the jokes where they want to still hear stuff from the past because it's something where we'll do a whole regular brand new show that they don't know. And then at the end, I'll bring in stuff from the past and they love it. And I'm like, really? And I feel like, okay, that's stuff that they've been conditioned to learn. and want to recite back. And so there's times where we're basically talking at the same time, doing the same thing. I think that's so cool. I learned that from wrestling.
Wow. I want to take you back. You started your stand-up career when you were 22 years old. Was stand-up always something you always wanted to do?
Well, I started a little bit sooner than that, but 22 is probably when I started getting paid. So that's when I'm claiming it. You know, people say, when did you start? Well, when the check cleared. When the check cleared, it became official.
It was stand-up comedy always something you always wanted to do?
Believe it or not, there was two things I wanted to do. It was either stand-up comedy or wrestling. I was in love with this as a kid. It was the same time as well. Remember, WrestleMania was WrestleMania 3 was 1987. I was 10, 11 years old at the time, and 10, 11 years old was when I fell in love with comedy as well. I was watching Eddie Murphy, and so I was I was just drawn to the lights and the stage and the back and forth, and so yeah, both comedy and wrestling gave me that. I got that excitement from both. So
now it's not like you came out and you were this instant star. You had to grind, you had to go on different shows. You weren't afraid to go anywhere and everywhere. But it culminated. I mean, you're a huge star now, and you're the first comedian. I find this very, very cool because a lot of what you're saying resonates with me in the sports world, how you use what you learned there to take it to there. And I've said that all the time about when I used to do Sports Center. You're the first comedian, and you got to be incredibly proud of this, to sell out Dodgers Stadium. When you decided to try that, and then you did sell it out, and somebody walked into the room and said, "Hey, buddy, we sold out Dodger Stadium." Take me through that whole experience.
Yeah, I sold it out before Otani. Tell people about that all the time. Yeah, he's the GOAT now, but so when we took a chance on doing that show, which was the biggest thing I've ever attempted, it was insane, the idea of trying to do this. I was on the ticketing sites every day just watching, because you see the blue dots, you start off with all blue dots, and then you have your on sale, and the on sale usually you can put out all the really good solid seats will go the first day, and then little by little they start, you start selling, and each time you do promos, those blue dots keep disappearing. When it finally got down to the point where, man, we're just straight nose bleeding it right there. I remember that there was a promo that happened where that was the one promo that just made it go clean, because it was only probably about 700-800 tickets left at the top. And I remember my agent called me and he goes, "Dude, did you buy the tickets?" And I go, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Did you buy the tickets?" I go, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "Yeah, the last whatever 100 seats sold today." He goes, "But they went like that all of a sudden." I go, "Well, we did some promos." He goes, "Are you sure you didn't buy them?" I go, "I did not go on Ticketmaster and buy my own freaking seats." I'm like, "No, that's cheating. No, I didn't buy my own seats." So I just remember we sat there on the call and we're like, "This actually happened. This is incredible. This is crazy that it was like we did it." We're all just talking on a call, and then something really, really epic happened. We added a second show the night before to do, because we were taping it, and so we wanted to have two takes, and so we sold the field. We just sold the field. We didn't sell everything up on top, but we sold the field, so we were still able to do another 10,000 tickets on top of it. And once we put that second show on sale, the floor again, the best seats go first, and so if you're only selling the best seats, they sold. So we were able to actually be there for 2 nights. One night on the field, 10,000, and the other night, which was the full everything, which was roughly about between 47 and 50,000 people.
That's amazing. That's amazing. That's amazing. By the way, real quick, and Tommy, I know you have a question, but I now feel guilty because you just said it's cheating if you buy your own tickets. This is a true story, Gabriel. Tommy's wife has been at WWE for 37 years, Tommy. She's worked there. Tommy worked there for 32 years. When I got my first action figure, I kid you not, on my children, I thought somebody would notice if I used my own credit card. So I went to his wife, who has like 8,000 credit cards. Just ask him, he'll tell you.
Yeah.
And I used one of her credit cards to buy 10 of my own action figure because I was so full of myself at the time that I thought somebody would care. But apparently I was cheating now, Tommy. According to Gabriel, I was cheating selling my own action figure. So all these years later, I know that now.
So the main reason why my agent thought that I had bought the tickets is because it was a thing that would happen at the comedy clubs, where at the comedy clubs you would get a bonus at sellout, and anytime you would come close. So let's say the room sat 500 people, and you sold 483 tickets. Those 17 tickets, they would not give you a bonus on that. You have to go clean in order to get that bonus, and a lot of times the bonus would be more money than what you would spend to buy those tickets. So I would just say, hey, well, if it's that close, let me just buy the remainder of the tickets so I can get my bonus.
Right.
It was spend this much to make this much.
That makes a lot of sense.
And so I would do that. And so we had these conversations before. So when it came down to that, he's like, that's what he was asking. Hey, did you buy them?
That's funny.
No, there was no bonus other than just having a sellout and being able to call it a sellout. But there was no extra money. And I wasn't about to buy 500 to 700 tickets.
It's like 50 large.
Yeah. I'm like, that's why they could afford Otani. I bought all my own tickets.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Hey, Gabe, me and you have a lot in common. I love Hawaiian shirts. I have a favorite New York Yankee Hawaiian shirt.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you were diabetic too.
I am.
Hey,
Go Ozempic. Do you have a favorite Hawaiian shirt?
Oh, I thought you were going to say a favorite diabetes medicine. I was going to say Manjaro. I'm on Manjaro, but Ozempic's good too. I lost 15 pounds.
Yep.
And I know you did it. You used DDP Yoga, correct?
I did that a few years ago, and the reason that was successful is because that is an incredible human being. He would text and call me all the time and stay like, bro, where are you at? I swear to God, he'd text me and I'd be in the drive-thru line at Wendy's or Carl's Jr. and he knew, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't take this call. He's trying to call me. I'm like, no. I'm like, he's got a camera on me somewhere. He was so good about reminding me to stay on the program, and it felt almost like an anonymous type of program. He was always checking on me, always encouraging me, and I think that's what was so beneficial and so helpful, and the reason why I was able to lose so much weight off of his plan.
I was texting with him 2-3 weeks ago. He's going to be a guest here on the show in 2 weeks, actually, and I told him that you were coming on, and he said, Gabriel is such a good dude. Please tell him hello for me. Swear to God. And so for you to say good things about him, I don't know anybody that's ever said anything bad about him. And it's really been since his post-wrestling career. He's turned so many lives around. And that's what we love, right? About him.
Absolutely. And in addition to that, the man has a very good business sense. He's very driven, not just in wrestling, but in life. The guy is he's managed to reinvent himself and have this whole new career, with health and wellness and fitness, and just, he's an awesome human being. I love the guy to death. I've been to his house. I've destroyed his plumbing. I don't want to get graphic, but I heard his plumbing. So yeah, I have nothing but awesome things to say about the guy. He's so nice.
Tommy, you can ask him that question in 2 weeks, okay? You get to ask him the plumbing question.
I'll ask DDP that question.
Yeah.
Did Gabriel destroy your plumbing?
Yeah. Well, he's got a really. I don't know if he's moved since then, but I remember his last house. His house is so big, it has an elevator in it.
Wow.
His house has a freaking elevator in it. So yeah, I made sure that I used the bathroom on the top floor, so gravity could help that situation.
I tell you, DDP Yoga has played well over the years. It has paid well over the years, no doubt about it.
Straight up elevator.
Gabriel, you've done a lot of things in your career. There's no doubt about it. And we are big fans. Me and Tommy, when we used to travel back in the early 2000s, Family Guy became huge. And I knew that you were a voice on Family Guy. I had no idea that you did the entire family on the episode, the entire Mexican family. How did you change those just enough to make it sound like a whole family?
Well, when you get a call to be on a show like that, I'm a huge fan, by the way, of Family Guy. It's one of my favorite shows to watch. Uh, when you get asked to do it, uh, you just say yes. You don't even know if you can do it yet. You're just because
Wow.
you say yes because you'll figure it out when you get there, as
Right.
opposed to just saying no, I can't. Like, no, man, you figure it out. And so I get there, and most of the time, voiceovers, you're with a director in a small room, and they're telling you, okay, we need this, go higher, go lower, adjust, and that's just the way it is. But with Family Guy, Seth MacFarlane is there in the room with you. He's looking right at you,
Seth
and
is?
yes, he's in
Wow.
the room with you. And what was so cool is basically like there's a little lobby right outside the recording booth, and I'm there with Mila Kunis, and I was sitting there with Mila Kunis and with Adam West when
Adam West.
when he was still with us.
Batman.
So, yeah, so I'm sitting there next to the OG Batman,
They were
you know,
with him.
Batman.
and everybody's just chilling, minding their own business, they're on their phones, they're just doing their own thing, and I'm just like sitting there like oh my god, like I'm looking around at all the people. And then Seth comes out and he's like, "Hey, Seth MacFarlane," and he already sounds a little bit like Peter. So he comes out, we shake hands, he goes, "Come on in," and okay, and so I walk in there, and it's him and I, and he's already, he does like 3 or 4 of the voices out the gate,
Yeah.
and so he's like, "Okay, yeah, you're doing this voice," and he goes, "Okay, now can you do the Mexican voice? Just go higher, and then go higher, okay, and then we'll go lower." And so that's it. He was the one directing me, going, "Okay." So it's like, orale, all right, go higher, orale, go higher, orale. So that he was doing that, and basically like, oh my god, he's playing me like a fiddle right here. So he was the one that was able to get me to do all those voices, and so yeah, I did a few characters on that episode. But at the end of the day, in true Mexican fashion, one check.
So do you like doing animated voiceovers better than doing stand up or being on a sitcom?
Absolutely not. Stand up is number one for me, but I do love doing voiceover work because it feels fun. It feels fun. You show up, you don't got to be dressed up. If you forget to shave, oh well. You don't got to memorize a script. They hand you the script right there. You meet the director. They tell you exactly what they want. As long as you're performing well, you're gonna have fun. Uh, the craft services is always great. And at the end of the day, your name winds up on a movie poster or on the credits, and it's just something that goes into your SAG and your insurance and stuff like that. So I love it. I love it. I rarely say no to voiceover work. As a matter of fact, a couple times that I did say no, I regretted it. So I always try to say yes.
Everything you're saying today, it's almost like I'm following your playbook, because everything I've done, because I'm kind of like you, is I didn't take the traditional route. I went to wrestling in my 20s, then to ESPN, and then now doing my own thing. But you always say yes. And I'm going to tell the next class I speak to, you figure it out. You say yes and you figure it out, because you never know if that opportunity is going to come again. That part of what has driven you throughout your careers. You don't know if that phone is going to ring, and that's kind of a wrestler's mentality as well.
Yes, I'm like that Jim Carrey movie, Yes Man. I don't know if you guys remember that movie, but it
Yes.
was basically like the world of opportunities awaits you as long as you say yes. And so that's been my whole career, is saying yes to everything. And you know what? There are certain moments where the yes hurt. Whether it was you said yes to work and you missed out on certain things. You missed out on anniversaries. You missed out on holidays. You missed out on special occasions. But that all that all goes into what it is that you do. And so for me, to say no, it's denying me an opportunity to grow. It's denying me an opportunity to get to that next place, that next level. So yes, all day, man. I try. I say yes till it hurts. And fortunately for me, I'm at a place now where the goal of saying yes is to get to a place where you can say no. And that's the whole That's the way that should work right there. And
Amen.
that's where I feel like I'm at right now. But fortunately, Coach, hey, big fan, so I said yes. I
You
could have said no.
did. That's what I was thinking. You didn't have to say yes to us, but man, am I glad that you
My,
did.
my publicist wasn't involved. There was no phone calls back and
No.
forth. And usually that's the case. Usually it's my publicist going, all right,
Well,
look, kid, if you do this, here's the
thank
thing,
you.
man. It's really going to help with the.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
you haven't met my publicist. My publicist doesn't even know I'm doing this right now.
Man,
he's going to watch this later and go, how come I wasn't
when
on
did
that
that
call?
happen? Well, it's been awesome, and I know you're busy. I want to do one quick thing, and then we'll let you get out of here. We thought we'd play a little fantasy today because you always said what it would be like for you to do X, Y, and Z. So I want to ask you a few questions, kind of rapid fire, and you tell me your answers. All right, all wrestling related. All right, here we go. All right, who would be the 2 wrestlers in your dream match if you could set it?
CM Punk and Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Oh, why CM Punk?
You know what? I just think for me, I've always been a huge CM Punk fan, and I've always wanted to see that match. Either him and Stone Cold or CM Punk and Macho Man.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've been in the ring a lot with Stone Cold. That makes me feel good right there on that level, sort of. If you could manage any WWE superstar of all time, who would you manage?
Ooh, this might be controversial just because of, blah, blah, blah. But Brock Lesnar.
We talk about blah, blah, blah here in the show, so it's okay.
Oh, you talk about blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, we do.
Right,
we talk about blah, blah, blah here. Yeah, so it's okay.
Blah.
It's okay. It's okay. What do you think is more important? Ring work, in-ring work to get a wrestler over? In-ring work or mic work?
I think, honestly, mic work. Mic work. Can you sell the match? Can you sell the idea? Can you sell this moment? I think is a little bit more important than the actual ring work. Don't get me wrong. It's physically, some of these superstars, the things that they do is incredible. But I think the only reason why they don't go to that next level is because they can't sell their promo. They can't get this idea over. And once you can work the audience without having if you can work the audience without having an opponent, wow, I think that's number one.
There's a reason The Rock never had to do anything off the top rope. There's a reason he never had to risk breaking his neck because of that answer right there, ladies and gentlemen. All of you young wrestlers, listen to that answer right there. Learn how to talk. Now, last fantasy question, because I've taken all 3 of these, Gabriel, multiple times. If you could take just one, either the Rock Bottom, the Stone Cold Stunner, or a 3D through a table, what would you take?
Oh, God, they all equal chiropractor.
I'm still walking with a limp most of the time.
If I had to take one, I'm a big fan of the Dudleys. I would take that through the table. I don't know why I feel like a table would actually be some sort of cushion, but I would take the table. If Mae Young could take it, I'm.
Coach took it.
It does. I've taken it many times, and I'd rather go through a table than take the 3D straight down to the mat. It absolutely is a cushion. You're absolutely right. All right, last question, and then we'll let you get out of here. We know you're busy on tour right now. If you could go back and talk to 5-year-old, 6-year-old Gabriel Iglesias, because I love journeys and I love good stories and I love everything about what we get to do and getting to talk to good people like you. What would you tell your 5-year-old self about where you are in 2024?
Oh, man. I would tell 5-year-old me to just keep dreaming, keep doing what feels right, and hug your mom as much as you can.
Yes.
I love that. I love it. Don't go anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, see him on tour. He's all over the United States right now. Go out there, buy a ticket. Don't make him buy his own. Don't make him buy my own.
Don't make me do it.
Coach.
Yeah.
He's coming to my town in June. And
he's coming to Stanford? Stanford, Connecticut?
Yeah.
He's sold out?
June. It's sold out.
Wow.
Can I share this story real quick?
Yeah, right, of course, please.
So we're at the hotel where everybody's staying. And by the way, that's another thing too, is that every year I've been privy to where everybody's staying at, and they set me up to stay where all the stars are staying. And everybody gathers around the bar. That's where everybody hangs out. You hang out by the bar, by the lobby, and you're gonna see and run into somebody. So I'm sitting down, one night, I think it was after SmackDown, and security taps me on the shoulder, and I'm like, yeah. He goes, sir, Miss McMahon would like to speak to you. I go, excuse me? He goes, Miss McMahon. I go, Miss McMahon? He goes, yes. And sure enough, Linda McMahon was sitting right behind me, and her and her friends are fans. And I'm like, oh! And so I stood up, and I'm like, wow, it was an incredible moment where I geeked out pretty hard.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm such a big fan. I'm like, you're Linda McMahon. Just stop it, okay? Let me kiss your hand. Can I wash your car? What do you mean? And it was really, really nice to meet her. She was so sweet, so endearing. And that was like, I couldn't believe that happened. And of all the stars I've met, that she really, I was so surprised that she even knew who I was. And we had that little moment right there.
Remarkable.
And she's like, yeah, I'm in Stanford. And when's your next show out there? And so I'm like, oh. So I was tongue tied. And I'm
Is
like,
she coming?
okay.
Is she coming?
She's coming. So then we wound up running into her at the at the stadium, and she was in the suite next to us, and we wound up doing a whole nother meet and greet. She goes, meet my other friends, and I'm like, oh my god! And now we're talking like we're way old friends. Like, get over here, girl. How you been? but yeah. So Stanford, it's gonna happen, and like, because for security reasons, I guess I shouldn't say, but I don't know. She may or may not be there, but she has the info. She's got my info for sure. But
Tommy, you can be her plus
cool.
one. You can be her plus one, Tommy.
I know Linda really well. Yeah, great woman, remarkable.
Oh, one of the classiest people of all time. Yes. Of all time.
Yep.
Gabriel.
I thought it was really nice also that all the wrestlers that were in the area that saw her all came over and just thank you, and they were very respectful and came over and like, hey, I just want to say hi, and then just like big monsters that are like chugging 18 beers, and they're like, Linda's here, and hello.
Right.
Like, everybody became a little puppy dog around her and just said thank you and hi and gave her a hug. So I thought that was really nice.
Wow.
I think that's a great way to end this interview, is just like that, because she is the brains behind, and she's always been classy every single step of the way. Yep. Thank you, Linda McMahon. Thank you.
Even during blah, blah, blah.
Even during blah, 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 which, God willing, is almost over. Gabriel Iglesias, the one and only. See him on tour. Gabriel, thank you so much for giving us so much time here on Behind the Turnbuckle, brother. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, you guys.
Tommy, I'm just going to say this right now. Do you realize how big of a star you're working with right now?
I think I do. Yeah.
I'm never going to let you live it down, kid.
Unbelievable.
He has a wrestling wall, and he wants my picture on his wall. I'm just saying. So I'd appreciate a little appreciation from you, sir. A little more respect.
Yes, you got it.
All kidding aside, how great was that interview?
He's such a down-to-earth guy, and just his answers were phenomenal. Like, if you want something, you got to go for it. And that's what we've been talking about for weeks with our young superstars. And look at him, man. He has made it, dude, in a field that's really, really tough, stand-up comedy. But he niched his own little thing, and he is doing phenomenal. He is really a great guy and a regular guy, Coach, and a huge WWE pro wrestling fan.
See, he is everything that we used to love as performers in the WWE. And he even mentioned in the interview, we used to hate it when celebrities would come because it was the cool thing to do. So they could be seen at Monday Night Raw or SmackDown or whatever. This guy's legit. Like, he has been a fan since the 80s, and you can tell. We're going to take a trip down to his wrestling warehouse that he invited us to, and I think what I love about the fact that you and I and Producer Man started this show is today is one of the days that I dreamed about, is you and I sitting around with whoever it is. It just happens to be one of the biggest comedians in the world, talking about what we loved over 30 years, almost 15 years. That to me means more than anything. Today was awesome. So thank you. Thank you. Now, we mentioned DDP. He's going to be a guest in a couple of weeks. Have no idea who we're going to have next week, but we're going to keep booking him, and hopefully you guys continue to enjoy the stories that we bring you every single week. But for now, that's all the damage that we can do. For Big Tommy C, for producer man always behind the scene, making the show look like $1,000,000, I am simply the coach. We'll see you next week for the next episode of the one and only show you even need to worry about. We call it BTT, Behind the Turnbuckle. Have a great week.